I started praying, you know. I'm like, God, I want to stop this thing. God, I want to stop doing this thing. It doesn't make me happy. When you begin, you don't even feel guilty. You do it until it becomes pleasurable. And then only after it becomes an addiction do you realize, actually, there are negative, effects of it. So it's like you're waking up, let's say you don't have anything you're doing or something. And then, okay, what's the next fun activity? You're not even stepping out of the house. But what's the next fun activity? Let's masturbate, you know. Or, of course, pornography will trigger you to do that. Other times when people do it, it's for, maybe you've been rejected. Maybe you are using it as, like, I don't want to sleep around. That was me at some point. You don't want to sleep around. You're not in a relationship, probably you're used to having sex, and then you don't want to sleep around. So this is a good way to release yourself.
Well, hello there and welcome to yet another episode of Kaleke's Health Moments, where as always we live healthy one story at a time. Our guest today is going to share her story of how she overcame her masturbation addiction.
Hi everyone, thank you Kaleche. My name is Wambui and I am a mother of one amazing 6-year-old. I'm an author, I'm an environmentalist by training, and I do a couple of so many other things. And one of the things I really love to do is to inspire people to be the best versions of themselves, to inspire women especially, and that's what I've done through the book. And today I'm here to talk about masturbation because it's something that I have been through, overcame, and it's amazing when I talk about it. There is no shame in sharing what you've been through and conquered. Yeah, it is. It's an amazing book. I authored it for women, and you should definitely get a copy if you're trying to find your, footing in life. And I'm so glad to be here.
Okay, thank you. Welcome very much. Can you share your experience or your journey with masturbation?
Masturbation for me began as something that I heard about very late in life, because I think it started when I was about 22 or 22 and a half. I don't know if we say our ages like that, but about 22. And it was just something that I was trying out, and then it turned out to be pleasurable. I can quote that right now. And then later on it became a bad habit, which I realized I think it's not normal. It's sort of an addiction. And that's why I'm here to talk about it today. So basically I'm not even sure how I got into it, but I think it was a phase in my life when I was just trying to sort of experiment. And discovering my sexuality and everything, and then with time it became like a habit to ease from stuff, something that I discovered and then I enjoyed, and then later on it became like something that you have to do. So
Okay. Did the internet play any role?
The internet is really amazing. You just need to go there and Google masturbation or something, and then you have loads of information, even videos of people, the internet has answers to many of our questions.
Okay, did you know then that you had this problem? Did you know it was a problem?
You don't know it's a problem until you're trying to sort of stop, and it's like you can't, because it's something that it's a habit. You've developed it over the years, and so when you're trying to think, no, I need like a behavior change or something, and then you can't stop, so you're like not in control of it, then that's when you realize, I think this is a problem.
How would one know that they have a masturbation problem? What are the symptoms of signs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you realize that it's actually, I think I'm getting addicted to this thing, is when you are doing it and you can't stop, or you're doing it too often, or it's becoming an outlet for something. You probably intended it to be for enjoyment or something, but now you're running to it when you're stressed, you're running to it when you're lonely, you're running to it for anything. Then you realize it's like alcohol. You start by social drinking, and then you realize I'm stressed, I have a problem at work, I have a problem at home, alcohol. And that's the same thing with masturbation. When you realize you're dependent on it, then you realize it's a problem. Yeah.
So, okay, could there be an underlying issue that happened to somebody?
I wouldn't point out any problem that I had in my upbringing. I thank God for my parents. They did the best they could. But I think it was just a time in my life when I was really trying to find myself. And you're sexually active. So first of all, you've jumped from being that innocent girl, and then now you're sexually active. You're also trying to find yourself, find acceptance. I mean, it could be anything. But to be honest, I feel like other times when people do it, it's for maybe you've been rejected. Maybe you are using it as I don't want to sleep around. That was me at some point. You don't want to sleep around. You're not in a relationship, probably you're used to having sex, and then you don't want to sleep around. So this is a good way to release yourself. But there are other people I know I have interacted with who are not able, for example, to approach. Like I'm a man, I'm a young man. I have sexual desires, but then it's like because of my upbringing or something, maybe I have so much fear. I haven't been raised up being vocal, and you can't approach a girl. They are not able to express themselves, and so they're expressing themselves in secret. Fantasies, pornography, and then masturbation then becomes part of their life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what are the triggers for masturbating?
I'm gonna tell you some of the triggers of it. Hopelessness is one of the things, so it's like you're waking up, let's say you don't have anything you're doing or something, and then okay, what's the next fun activity? You're not even stepping out of the house, but what's the next fun activity? Let's masturbate, or of course pornography will trigger you to do that. Then there is loneliness. Loneliness is a big one. One of the reasons why the habit really intensified is because I went to work away from home, from my country, and I wasn't with my family, my child, and there was such an overwhelming feeling of loneliness and trying to discover what is this new life and everything. That is one of the things, loneliness, stress.
Okay. Did you seek any treatment? And if not, what did you do so that people who are not in a position to have professional counseling can learn a thing or two from you?
My story of realizing that I think masturbation is an addiction got me at a point when I was really trying to be a better version of myself. I remember when I was having this conversation with Kaleche about me coming to talk about masturbation. I was so particular that, I'm not an expert in this because I didn't seek any counseling or something like that. I felt like I'm so tired of it. I wanted authenticity in my life. And so because I wanted authenticity in my life, and I was tired of having to do it and feeling like I don't have control over it, I started praying. I'm like, God, I want to stop this thing. God, I want to stop doing this thing. It doesn't make me happy. But one of the things I know about when you're trying to stop a masturbation addiction is that you have to be so intentional about wanting to stop. Otherwise, it doesn't matter, you see a therapist or whatever. I don't think the habit will go. But why I really wanted to stop is because I realized that I had just discovered my purpose. through a season of feeling like I'm so lost and everything. I had just discovered my purpose, and I was doing a blog then, a Christian blog, and I realized that God was using me so powerfully to speak and to mentor people in spiritual issues and in life issues. But then in my own life, I was struggling with this thing that I was feeling like I'm not in control of. And so I wanted to serve God so authentically that I didn't want to have to be used by Him and then struggle with this thing. But one time I was off work and I remember breaking before God, and I'm like, God, if you don't do this thing, it cannot be done. And I was so intentional and genuine and broken in my prayers. And yeah, I mean, I prayed. I was so, it was coming from a deep place, because I wanted to live my life very authentically. And so I checked out of the hotel and I left, and 1 week, 2 weeks down the line, 3 weeks, I'm like, what? I think God actually answered my prayers. I think this thing is not, I'm not thinking about it. I'm alone sometimes and I'm not thinking about it. The first thing before I became intentional and prayed about it was I talked to someone about it. I don't know, I think I was very comfortable with a friend that I told about it, and I was like, hey, I struggle with masturbation, and that was kind of weird and uncomfortable. But then I think our friendship was so amazing such that I was able to open up and say, this is something I struggle with. This is something I had not told anyone, And one of the things, even as I tell you to be more intentional about stopping to masturbate, wanting to stop and to pray about it, is you have to speak to someone about it. I think that is step one, because masturbation becomes so addictive because it's done privately. So once you tell someone that this is something I'm actually struggling with, and it's out there, then it becomes something that is not holding you bondage so much, because it's like in the light, like someone knows about it. So that is really step one. And I hope you all can get, amazing people who you can be able to open up to. I mean, I'm available first of all, but yeah, you need to talk to someone about it and then be intentional about wanting to stop.
So you've basically answered the next question I was going to ask you, which was, who did you first confide in? So in a way, you can also say support system is good.
Completely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in my research, I came across a publication that reads, it helps boost one's self-esteem. That is masturbation. Is this true?
Oh, well, you remember when you asked me how the internet played a role in my, masturbation habit? When I started doing it, I was trying to get all the right reasons to do it. And so I researched a lot. Because, I'm a Christian. Even though I was doing it, I was still, but I'm thinking, this life, you need to do what you got to do. So I'm just researching, I'm checking, like what are the benefits of masturbation, and I found tons of them. And the one that really settled, I stood with and said, this one I'm taking to the bank, was the one for it helps to improve self-esteem. Wow. Oh my gosh, that's a lie. That's a lie, because first of all, let's first face the problem. Why do you need your self-esteem to be improved? So there's an underlying problem, first of all, that you're not dealing with. I think my self-esteem issue that I thought, oh, let's boost this one, came as a result of knowing that, I'm not living authentically. And first of all, I'm engaged in sexual activity because I had a boyfriend. I was in campus and I had a boyfriend, and that was not what I wanted, And then it was around this time when socialites had surfaced, and there's this whole, big hips thing going on, and you have your too small to hips, and you're like, oh my god. Also, I think my body had changed a little bit, and I had become a little bit bigger. I was also becoming more conscious about my womanhood and my sexuality and everything. So for me, I think it was mostly body image issues, and the fact that I wasn't living out my life the way I wanted to. So that was where I wanted to boost my self-esteem. So I think it affected my self-esteem, and it didn't boost my self-esteem. It actually, when it became like an addiction, my self-esteem became even worse. Worse in a way you don't even know how to, you don't even know what to use to boost it, It became worse because, first of all, you're doing something that you think is pathetic. I mean, many people will still say it's healthy and everything, but for you, I mean, here we are talking to the person who really feels that masturbation is not something that is a plus to my life. So it made my self-esteem become even worse. I have a friend of mine also, who would not even express themselves. They had just like a personality issue, and something was just so off with them. It was a gentleman. And then one time they came and told me that they actually have a masturbation addiction and they don't know how to stop, and it's actually affecting them. Even their manhood, their belief that they can actually be whole, that they can actually satisfy a woman, because it makes you so dependent on yourself, So there is no self-esteem. In my experience, in the experience of two other friends I know, there is no self-esteem that is boosted there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that you stop the habit, what keeps you in check? What helps you keep in check so that you cannot go back?
Go back.
Yeah.
There is something I call guarding your healing. There's something that I call guarding your healing, and I talk about it even in the book. After I broke free from, the habit of masturbation, weeks passed by, months. So 6 months in or thereabout, I was not very busy. I had resigned from my job and I had some time out, and I thought about doing it, and then in the midst of thinking, should I do it, should I not do it, I realized that I'm done. That was terrible. I felt really bad about, caving into the desire.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, will you now punish me, and I can't go back to restraining myself. And I prayed and I was like, God, forgive me. I don't know, because it's something I allowed, honestly. I thought about it, I envisioned it, and I did it, but then God taught me something immediately, which I said, guarding your healing. Just because you have broken free from a habit, an addiction, alcohol, something, whatever, it doesn't mean you can go back to it. So we shouldn't be so confident in the place of knowing, I'm over that relationship, I'm over that heartbreak, so I can get myself into that again. We have to be so intentional about guarding our healing, whatever needs to be done. If pornography makes you do it, then try not to do it completely. This thing is not easy, I'll just quote Paul. Paul says, I beat my body. There's nothing easy about controlling yourself, even though it happened miraculously, you still need to put, measures to make sure that it's not happening, Let's say you're struggling with an alcohol problem, and then you're still hanging out with your friends who drink till 10 p.m. because it can be past that, in Kenya today. It's so important to guard your healing, If it's heartbreak that would cause you to masturbate, how can you heal from that heartbreak? If it is low self-esteem, maybe you have like body image issues or something, how can you look better? Create healthy boundaries, have healthy relationships, be in a support team, that makes you have more fun, edifying activities, not closing yourself up in a room and masturbating yourself to sleep or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did other people know about it, and were they worried for you?
No, they didn't, except like the friend who I told. And then because they were not close to me, they were living in a different country, they didn't understand the intensity of this habit. People never really knew,
because it was a secret,
It was a secret.
Okay.
You do it in secret, you go back to functioning as normal.
Okay.
And then when you are away, then you do it again and you feel so terrible. You feel so terrible about it.
Okay. Now, do you think lockdown played a role in people masturbating more?
Because one of the things that really encourages masturbation is being alone. So, in quarantine, people were alone longer. Children were more exposed to phones and pornography, and then trying it out through masturbation then becomes an issue. So yeah, of course, quarantine, I'm sure we have so many quarantine victims.
Yeah.
But again, as I said, healthy activities and being intentional about it would really help, so that your behavior is not determined by the circumstances you get predisposed to, but then your behavior gets determined by the kind of standards you've set for yourself.
Okay. So what is the advice you'd give to people going through the same and they can break away?
I said in the beginning, talk to someone, reach out, tell someone what you're going through. Then, if you think it's really not a plus to your life, it's not edifying you in any form or manner, desire to break free from it. If you need counseling, if you need therapy, if you need to have better relationships, better activities, you need to do whatever you need to do to make sure that you stop. When you begin, you don't even feel guilty. You do it until it becomes pleasurable. And then only after it becomes an addiction do you realize actually there are negative effects of it. So because you've heard from me, like, stop it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think parents should talk about sex, these issues, with their children?
Yes, I do think that parents should talk to their children about it, because children discover these things when they're very, very young. My son is 6 years old. The other day we woke up, it was a Saturday morning, and we were watching the Safari Rally, the World Rally, the recent one. And so we woke up and we were so excited to watch the cars in their full speed on the phone and everything. And we finished, and because I needed to do something, I left my son with his phone to continue watching the races. And he's crawling through. We're just on the Safari Rally, like Google search. YouTube search. And he sees like a thumbnail of like two legs. It's really embarrassing. But like two legs apart and two legs in the middle in a car. And he was like, Mom, kwa gari. That's like, Mom, in the car. And I was like, what, in the car? In my head I'm thinking, what? You're only 6. I've raised you up so innocently. What do you mean? And it's very uncomfortable sometimes, like, how do you behave? And you realize, wow, your child actually knows about sexuality and stuff and sex and those things, and they're only very young. But the thing is, children learn about these things. It's actually in their DNA to want to know, to be curious about sex and stuff. When our children have these questions, we should explain. When they ask you a question, you can try and answer very quickly. You don't need to be explicit about it. Just answer very quickly. Don't fail to answer, because if they need an answer, they will, and you don't give it, they will find places to get the answers. They will ask their friends at school, they will check on the internet, and they will get the answers, not maybe the ones you want them to get.
Did the thought of you giving up masturbation terrify you?
The thought of giving up to me was, yeah, it would terrify me because I thought it's so much work. Like, how do you even begin? And but what would terrify me more is the thought of not being able to give it up. You know, like, how will I stop? What do I need to do? How do people do it? But it was encouraging when even before I was vocal about my problem with masturbation, one of my friends came and told me, you know, I used to masturbate, but then God, you know, like, that's why I am so enthusiastic and brave, regardless of how someone may think embarrassing it is to share your story and your struggle with something. Because when someone hears that someone else was able to break free from it, you think that, you know, the possibility for you is also not so far out of reach, you know. So it was really terrifying to think that I might not be able to stop. I mean, my heart goes out to those people who actually find themselves like, you're masturbating and then you've got into all these other activities of buying sex toys and stuff. I never got to that, and I thank God for that, because I think then the kind of you know, the kind of pleasure it probably gives is very unnatural, and you're trying to look for it in maybe a partner, and they can't, you know, it can't be, a machine cannot replace a human being. And so one of the things that I find people who struggle with masturbation have is they can't have healthy social, you know, bonds. For example, like, if you're doing it and you're married, you might not have, I've had so many people say, you know, like, the kind of satisfaction that you're giving yourself, you know, cannot even be replaced by your partner, and it becomes really dangerous, you know. So economically, if you're spending so much time doing it or watching pornography so that you can do it when you're supposed to be doing something productive, then you are actually denying this country, ridding this country of its citizens. Spiritually, of course, I was not able to move in power and in strength as I would love to. I felt that I'm living out my purpose half, you know, here but then there. Unfortunately, one time I had a celebrity say that, you know, they do it this couple of times and it's very healthy. And this was a married person, very influential, and having so many people viewing them. And it didn't make me happy, because you tell that to someone who is struggling. You're already financially stable and everything. You tell that to someone who is struggling, trying to make a living, trying to discover their footing, and then you're telling them that the masturbation is healthy. Then they discover it's not healthy. They discover they're using so much of their time doing it. They discover that actually they can't even concentrate at work because they're just thinking about how the work hours will end, and they can go and do it. Or they are in between work, doing it and going out, doing it and going out. And so your productivity cannot be 100.
I know it's okay for our children to see our vulnerable side. When your children come of age and they see this video, what will you tell them?
Oh, baby. This is something that I have, you know, hidden, you know, I have held back from doing and from saying my struggle and victory, you know, over masturbation. But it has taken so much, and it's very clear that this is something that I should talk about because of how I have walked with God. And so I am happy that I get to share my journey. And my children are already watching because y'all are. So I'm happy that I can share my story. And I hope that it encourages even my children when they see it growing up. And that they can know that they can also overcome their struggles. And it's good to be real, to be vulnerable, so that they can know that even when I go through something, mom has gone through it, she talks about it, so I can actually maybe talk to her about it. So I just want them to be authentic, not to be so withdrawn, but to just face their reality, their victories. So yeah. I'm also an author of a book called Marriage Worthy, a 21-day journey to becoming. It's a book that I authored specifically for women, just to take them through a journey to becoming. So it's the story of Esther, and then the story of the Samaritan woman, and then Esther of the Bible. And we just take those examples to learn how to be the best versions of ourselves, and to discover our purpose, to heal, to brave our stories. And yeah, it's an amazing book. We are working on a book club for it, where we'll be meeting as a group of small women to discuss issues that pertain our lives, and yeah, to prepare to be marriage worthy.
Oh wow, that's so great to hear. Well, you've heard it from our guest Wambui. You can overcome your addiction if you have the willpower and the commitment to do it. Well, that's it for today. Please consider subscribing to this channel. You can hit the notification button so that we can notify you of any new videos. Please like and share this video. Until next time, it's bye-bye from us.